When you build a structure massive enough, it doesn't take a sledgehammer to bring it down. The sheer weight of the stones creates an immense, invisible pressure, and if the engineering is slightly off, the architecture collapses under its own gravity. Throughout the 19th century, European leaders operated much like structural engineers. Statesmen like Germany's Otto von Bismarck worked to maintain the concert of Europe, a tenuous balance of power held together by a web of secret treaties and alliances designed to keep neighbors in check and isolate rivals. By the early 1900s, this diplomatic web had hardened. The major powers were locked into two opposing coalitions, the Triple Alliance of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, facing off against the Triple Entente of France, Russia, and Britain. The logic was incredibly simple. If an attack on one nation meant an attack on all of them, the cost of war would simply be too high for anyone to risk it. It was an elaborate safety net that provided a profound yet deeply fragile illusion of security. That political safety net was backed up by immense physical force. To guarantee the peace, nations believed they needed militaries so overwhelming that no enemy would dare challenge them. In Germany, Kaiser Wilhelm II aggressively pushed to turn his growing industrial empire into a global maritime power, determined to build a navy capable of challenging the absolute supremacy of the British Royal Navy. Britain responded by launching the HMS Dreadnought in 1906. This battleship was so heavily armed and heavily armored that it instantly made every other warship on Earth obsolete. The resulting naval arms race consumed vast amounts of national wealth. At the same time, land forces swelled. Between 1908 and 1913, the major European powers increased their military spending by over 50%, pouring funds into massive standing armies and the intricate railway networks required to supply them. By stockpiling weapons and drawing rigid lines of defense, European leaders believed they were ensuring the peace. Instead, they had accidentally constructed a machine perfectly calibrated for continent-wide destruction. The exact pressure point for this entire system lay in the southeast. The Ottoman Empire, which had controlled the Balkans for centuries, was in rapid decline, leaving behind a highly volatile power vacuum. This map details the ethno-linguistic borders of Austria-Hungary in 1910. As you can see, the empire was a fractured patchwork of different nationalities. Austrian statesmen viewed any expansion of neighboring Slavic states, particularly Serbia, as a direct threat to their empire's survival. Meanwhile, Russia viewed itself as the natural protector of those exact same Slavic states. The tension finally snapped on June 28, 1914, when Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, visited Sarajevo. His motorcade took a wrong turn down a city street, placing him directly in front of Gavrilo Princip, a Bosnian Serb nationalist who fired 2 pistol shots and assassinated the Archduke. For Austro-Hungarian leaders, the murder provided a convenient excuse to launch a localized military strike to crush Serbian influence once and for all. What they severely underestimated was that attacking Serbia meant triggering the very alliance trap designed to keep everyone safe. Within weeks of the assassination, Austria-Hungary issued an ultimatum to Serbia with demands that were intentionally impossible to meet. When Serbia refused to surrender its sovereignty, Austria broke diplomatic ties and began shelling the capital. In response, Russia had to act to maintain its geopolitical credibility and quickly ordered a general mobilization of its massive army to defend Serbia. This panic rippled straight to Berlin. Germany faced a severe geographic problem. If Russia went to war in the east, Germany's rival to the west, France, would almost certainly join in, forcing the German army to fight a war on 2 fronts simultaneously. Germany relied on the Schlieffen Plan, rushing through neutral Belgium to defeat France quickly before Russian forces arrived. Because armies relied on strict railway timetables, mobilizing troops was a de facto declaration of war. Once trains started rolling, the clockwork system could not be paused. When Germany swept through neutral Belgium to reach France, it violated an 1839 treaty. That invasion instantly legally bound the British Empire to enter the conflict. In just over a month, the diplomatic mechanisms intended to deter aggression had instead forced the great powers' hands. The safety net had failed, dragging the entire globe into a mechanical, unavoidable war. The precise mathematical war plans of the summer evaporated by September 1914. Germany's rapid advance into France was halted, bringing the dynamic, fast-paced conflict to a dead stop. Both sides dug in, creating the grim reality of the Western Front, a continuous line of fortified trenches that stretched all the way from the English Channel down to the Swiss border. Here, the terrifying innovations of the Industrial Revolution met human bodies. For 4 years, armies hurled themselves at heavy machine gun fire, navigated massive artillery barrages, and endured the first massive deployments of chemical weapons and tanks. The human toll of this stalemate was catastrophic. The conflict resulted in an estimated 15 to 22 million military and civilian deaths, and forced the movement of so many people that it became a major catalyst for the deadly Spanish flu pandemic. The very industries and strategic plans built by empires to protect their populations had instead functioned as a highly efficient industrial meat grinder. The slaughter finally ground to a halt with an armistice signed on November 11, 1918. At the Paris Peace Conference, the victorious Allies dictated terms that permanently dismantled the Old World Order. The stress of the war caused the total collapse and dissolution of the Russian, German, Austro-Hungarian, and Ottoman empires. Out of the ashes of those empires, the global map was redrawn, carving the territory into new, independent nation-states like Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Yugoslavia. The First World War remains a stark historical warning. It proves that the vast, interlocking systems we construct to guarantee our absolute security can, under the right pressure, become the exact architecture of our own destruction.